TEDx, right? All right. For a long time, I thought I was a part of the Matrix. Yeah. It wasn't really hot with the girls. And I'm not really sure if I should be proud of it anymore, because, well, that movie is as old as I am. 1999 was when I was born. Those were good times because I was never told that there was a line between dreams and reality. I thought I was always consciously crossing these lines on my own. But now that I realize I never was crossing these lines, I'm afraid. I'm afraid for each succeeding generation, as they are bound to wake up one day in the real world and wonder, how did we become such machines? I used to have trouble thinking inside the box. I used to have trouble coloring in the lines. When I was in kindergarten, I was given crayons, markers, and colored pencils, and I would create the most beautiful work of art that I could. I was so proud of what I had accomplished that I ran up to my kindergarten teacher's desk and placed it down in front of her, expecting validation. I watched her face closely as she wrinkled up her nose and said, "Honey, that's a piece of poo." Thinking, this must be the highest form of praise. I went on to give my fellow classmates that same positive reinforcement for the rest of the day. "Hey, Jimmy, hey, hi, you're a piece of poo." I got sent home after I greeted the principal with that same positive reinforcement, and I think about how much I want to be like that again. Innocent and naive like I was before I showed my wonderful artwork to someone and found out what a piece of crap it was. Before I realized that there was no Matrix. Before dreaming in the real world meant I was just dreaming in the real world. Before wondering how many other children have received such criticisms and spent the rest of their lives drawing diligently within the lines because that is what they are all told to do. Robin Williams once said, "Carpe diem," to a group of students very similar to you and I, institutionalized, who had no idea what it was like to think for themselves. It's Latin for seize the day. Do what you need to do to make your dreams come true. Even if the rest of society opposes you, you must be you. Now, I'm not saying that by the end of the speech, you should feel obligated to go rob a bank if you're into that kind of thing. But you shouldn't feel obligated to following a routine in an effort to satisfy the oversoul. People have told me that I'll get in trouble for not following the formula. First, I'll talk about this. Next, I'll talk about this. Yet, if I did follow the formula, it would defeat the very purpose of persuading you to open your mind and exposing you to new perspectives in a speech-written stream of consciousness with a hint of spoken word. See, we're allowed to be creative, but society has given us the model that defines our creativativeness. Hey, that's not bad, right? See, we're only allowed to think abstract thoughts that society has already accepted, or at least that's what we're told, or at least that's what I'm meant to tell you. The idea of choice. Take a risk. Every day is a new day. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Whether or not I should help others or just help myself depends on whether I want to follow something as cliche as society's rules. The routine of waking up in the morning and going to school or work and then coming home and going to bed. That's not how I want to live my life for the next 75,000 years, because creativity is the only cure to time. As our ideas will immortalize us even after we've died, ideas can live on in the next generation and the generation after that. Why I want to be creative again is because when my son or daughter runs up to me and shows me their beautiful piece of artwork, I want to see it the way they do, and not the way society thinks I should see it. Human and original. Throughout my entire educational career, I've only experienced myself writing creative essays and short narratives and extracurricular activities such as speech and debate and drama. If I didn't have these opportunities, I wouldn't be standing here before you. I would be studying for tests like the SAT and ACT. They say these tests are my tickets to paradise. I just got into a UC. Yeah, UC, an average of $33,000 in student loan debt according to debt.org. The claim colleges are businesses, so they won't actually teach you how to be successful, is unfortunately more true than it should be. They'll give you the illusion of success through testing and what you can major in, but they won't actually give you a job or teach you how to do your taxes They won't give you a house or any insurance. Yet we strive to be a part of the very best colleges to earn the credibility we need in order to compete in the workforce. And it's this idea of being judged. There's so many of us, how do you differentiate, that drives us to look our very best on paper. Now imagine, let's say, you had 1,000,000 diamonds, because who wouldn't want to have 1,000,000 diamonds? And you had to separate them based on cut, clarity, and carats. Well, we do the same thing with our students, by looking at them through the lens of GPA, SAT, and ACT scores. If they meet this numeric requirement, only then are they evaluated as individuals on a piece of paper. However, the difference between our educational system and a jeweler is that a jeweler knows that quality is subjective, that all diamonds have essentially the same chemical composition. Our educational system uses rubric scoring systems to whittle down the numbers, to separate the chaff from the wheat. But for every student we value, we tell 5 more they aren't good enough. How can we be better, they say? How can we be valuable? And do you know what we tell them? Do you know what we tell them? We tell them, stop trying. The Peter Principle is a well-established component of our workforce. This principle states that a worker will rise to their highest level of incompetence. In other words, an employee will do well in a job they have now in hopes of getting a promotion. Yet when they find the next job too difficult or too different from their skill set, they stop trying to improve and stay where they are on the ladder where they can no longer shine as diamonds. Why? Because we learn the Peter Principle in high school, where students take simple classes to protect their GPAs instead of challenging themselves in classes where they might fail. Do you see what this does? How enforcing a subjective system of values on a human being makes them stop trying to improve and teaches them that it is better to coast. Our educational system says, don't take the risk. Don't gamble away your future learning something you might not be good at. And it's this overwhelming pressure that students feel when asked, what's the next step? Take, for example, first graders in North Carolina who are already being asked what college they want to go to. I didn't even know how to draw a proper hand turkey in the first grade. And at the end of these businesses' little schemes that we're all born into, only the creativity that we have left will help us to solve these problems. The reason why I'm talking about education so much is that some of the aspects that kill creativity can be changed. It's the state law that forces students to go to school, but the law has no affiliation with what needs to be taught in schools. There are no classes that teach you how to dominate the stock market or make history instead of reading about history. 12 hours and 18 minutes is the average amount of time students spend taking tests over the course of 3 weeks, cited in the Washington Post. In this time, we could have solved real-world problems. We could have made history. We could have done a lot of things. According to freedomworks.org, the ultimate goal of Common Core is to sustain the federal takeover of education. Imagine every school district following the same nationalized standards, undermining a parent's ability to enroll their student in a public school that has better standards. Teachers will no longer have the ability to innovate the content of their courses to meet the unique needs of their students, and taxpayers, it'll cost $759. No, $759 million to implement nationalized standards for bad test scores. Shadowproof.com. The damage to the student's personal development is bad enough. Toxic levels of depression, they say. But when one considers that many of our future leaders of businesses and governments are excreted from these Ivy League institutions, there is little reason to hope for a better future. It doesn't matter what college you get into or if you even complete college. The degree you get at the end just validates what you were already capable of. Einstein said, logic will get us from point A to point B, but imagination will take us everywhere. Creativity drives innovation. Some of our best work came from college dropouts. Kanye for president, well, that's debatable. But Time.com lists Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Frank Lloyd Wright, Tom Hanks, etc. They never completed college. Their level of creative drive is what made them successful. Yes, we can sit here all day and debate as to whether students should rely on colleges as that jumping-off point. But did the average minimum wage worker ever rely on creativity when they were working in their jobs? They only know how to get the job done. And the longer they do their job habitually, the more they become machines, programmed to traditional ways of life. We keep talking about going to Mars and those movies involving teleportation. Yet we made the iPhone 6 times, Fast and the Furious 7 times. They're coming out with 2 more. We're bringing back Star Wars and Finding Nemo. And in the music industry, how many boy bands does it take for girls to notice a trend here? I'm still single. Entertainment, much like technology, has become the bane of our existence. I was doing my daily scroll on Twitter the other day when I came across a picture of Justin Bieber riding what was meant to look like a hoverboard. Right next to that post was a picture of the people from the movie WALL-E on their little hover chairs, angry about everything and drinking their food from a straw. The caption read, "We're getting closer." Are we getting closer to a dystopia? Logic says, look at the government. The America we stood for has been corrupted by politicians who have run out of good ideas. They don't represent what's left of America anymore because the 1% controls who runs the population. We can't even see the 1%, yet they have the ability to monitor the entire nation through its technology. Our iPhones have become digital representations of us. It's in the name, I connected to phone. There's no space, there's no pause, there's no hyphen, just iPhone. We keep buying iPhones. We keep checking our social media. We keep watching the same movies. We keep relying on technology when in reality we keep creativity from ourselves. Economically, if everything we indulged ourselves in was meant to pay off, why is the USDebtClock.org telling me we jumped from $13 to $18 trillion in debt since last year? I'm sick of all the other countries laughing at us. Us! US! They're saying we did this to ourselves and that we made it harder for each generation in the process. We're lost, confused, and emotionally driven. But one way or another, we live here as a broken family trapped in the cycle of hardships and failures and glimpses of success. Our children may be raised on terrible music, the horrors of social media, and an education that is continuously depriving its students of their creative abilities. But everything that is either good or bad in the world is dependent on whether you make it that way. Being able to travel to Mars and those movies involving teleportation won't depend on keeping up with the Kardashians or how many likes you have on your Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. It will, however, depend on whether you are brave enough to walk amongst the unknown. When my daughter watches The Matrix and draws me a picture, it'll take time before I can view it the way she wants me to. What I want from my kid is for her to be told that her artwork is crap when she knows it's not. When she knows it traveled across time, exited the boundaries of the universe, hit another dimension, and came back to her with the meaning of life. When she recognizes her need for creativity is what made her human. Thank you.